My husband and I were discussing if we were to move somewhere, where would we move in Canada? And I could find a place in every province where I would try.
The trip was definitely one of the biggest educational experiences I've ever had. The biggest.
So there's no buttons on this phone.
This was a 1-year trip across Canada, technically
13 whole months.
Initially, I thought we would spend about a month in each province and territory, right? 10 provinces, 3 territories, 13 months. Seems to be easy math.
Right away, on a scale of 1 to 10, I was a 1, a 0. I was so against the idea. My mom never wanted to bring it up again.
It's funny, when we went into this journey, the thought was, okay, we're going to see Canada. And a lot of it was stemmed from my wife.
So for me, it was an education for her.
And at the same time, we knew we were preparing for university, and it was like, okay, well, maybe she can do university visits.
Looking back, as much as I was there and experiencing these things, I don't think I understood really how important that was until, it was grade 12 and it was my turn to finally pick a university, and I realized I had so many options and there was so much that I had learned and seen that nobody else gets to do. Very few people can tour universities outside of their immediate area, right? You might maybe book a flight to Vancouver and tour UBC and that's it, but there's so much else out there that nobody knows about, and the importance of small universities versus big ones and what's the right fit for you, which I really understood after doing all that. And one girl, she was an Indigenous woman, and she spent hours talking to us about her struggles and what she had gone through, residential schools and the way that the government treats Indigenous people and their the pipeline issues, and there was so much that I didn't know. That's what interested me. I want to do a minor in Indigenous studies because of that. I think that's so important, and I think that not enough students know about that. I really had this idea of what Canadian history was in my head, and especially only traveling to Ontario and Quebec. That seems to be the core of history because that's where things first started. But after, traveling the country, that's not true at all.
Viking era started in the late 700s in Scandinavia because of bad times.
And these are animal-like creatures. This is the earliest whole community of the earliest large life known.
But then it's like, well, how do you compare to Nova Scotia? Oh man, we loved Nova Scotia. We were in Halifax. We were in Cape Breton Island. We went around the island in our RV. Oh my God, that was amazing to go up and down the hills, and little breathtaking moments.
So one of the things on my kind of list to do while on the trip was to volunteer. I wanted to get a scholarship from my high school, and I went back with the most volunteer hours. And what was really interesting was how welcoming and friendly people were. In Markham, it's very hard to volunteer. You have to get your vulnerable sector check and prove that you have experience, and even just for a day or two.
The basis of it all was education for our daughter, because you can read about mountains and lakes in a book, but it's very different when you're there and you look up and you go, wow, and you feel the air and you feel the space.
I planned the Yukon myself, and it was so amazing.
This was a very good learning for her because not only did it help with her planning skills, it developed her map reading skills and not just to depend on a GPS. She found out what festivals were happening in the month we were there. So she planned them and she said, we have to be there at this time.
In Faro, which was this cute little hidden gem in the Yukon, I was so happy, found this amazing festival, great people, everybody I talked to was super nice. And I showed my parents, I said, okay, I planned out the whole Yukon, we're gonna go to the festival this day to this day. And my dad was so mad. I'm not going, no, not into that. And I was so upset.
I couldn't see how some things would just happen.
We finally get there, my mom convinces him to go. We go, he loves it, and still to this day, that's all he talks about. Oh, I love Faro, oh, it's the Yukon's hidden gem, oh, it's my favorite place. So, what a guy.
We are.
Wow, look at that.
That would have been the biggest challenge, was that.
Nothing happened to the car? Man, that was a bit scary, eh?
Because everything else were just things we were learning along the way, you know? Taking care of the camper. We messed up a few times. We got stuck in places that we didn't know how to get out of.
We got to PEI and we were following GPS. And the GPS said, take this road and go across this bridge and you're gonna get to your destination. We got to the bridge was out. And out of the blue comes this gentleman in a car and he says, hey, he goes, everything okay? And we're like, wow, we're stuck, you know, the bridge is out. He goes, yeah, it's been out for a while. And he says, you know what? Why don't you just follow me through my yard and I'll bring you through the cornfields and I'll bring you to the highway.
So the biggest obstacle would have been probably the little spats that we had. You know, the arguments are that much more intensified because you're you pent up your feelings because where are you going to go? Who are you going to rant to, you know? And especially in those areas with no cell service, you have nothing.
One day, we were in BC, in the Rockies, a beautiful place. How can you be sad in a beautiful place like that? And we say, hey, this is your Father's Day gift.
Well, you know, happy Father's Day.
And Karen was upset, and he said, I don't want that.
I was so convinced that we were going to turn around, go home, and they were going to get a divorce, and that was it.
The one thing that I praise my wife on is she's like, we're going to figure this out, we're going to do it. And it turned out to this self-discovery trip.
Food bonded us in a weird way.
It did bring us closer as a family.
We're in Campbellford, where they have the best donuts called Doers.
You know, sitting together at picnic tables, doing takeout and sitting at our little RV table. So that was really something cool that I don't think any of us really thought about.
Anastasia picked the first potato of her life in PEI.
I ate some amazing food, like the lobster rolls out east. You know, our relationship was definitely put to the test, that's for sure. But we grew and we came out of it stronger, which I think is so important because now I'm able to still live with my parents, which is cool, you know?
And we're done.